Hello, friends and neighbors. Dr. Ken Berry here. So thankful and happy to be back with you once again to hang out and talk about a proper human diet. If you know someone who needs to understand the principles of a proper human diet, please don't hesitate to share this video with them. You have my permission to do that. You're also welcome to share this on your favorite social media as well. Let's see. So I'm a family physician. If you've never met me before, I've been doing this internet thing trying to help people understand human nutrition and health for several years now. And the demand for this just keeps growing. I think people are very hungry for the truth when it comes to nutrition and the truth when it comes to medical topics. And so often in mainstream media, you don't get the truth. You get a slanted, bought-off opinion that makes the big food companies very happy, makes the big pharmaceutical companies very happy. It makes them so happy, in fact, that they're willing to spend many millions of dollars a year advertising on the newspapers and the television channels and the YouTube channels who will toe the party line. I am not one of those people. I'll tell you right up front that big food and big pharma can kiss my ass. I don't have any allegiance to them whatsoever. I am here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for your family. I'm here for your friends. I gave up years ago thinking maybe we can fix this at the top. And maybe we can. The wind seems to be blowing in favor of that right now. So maybe we can have some effect at the governmental level, at the institutional level. But I hope for the best, but I always expect the worst. And I think that's the common sense position to have about this. And so I'm glad to have you here with me this afternoon where I'm at. Tell me where you're watching from. I'm in the woods of Tennessee. That's where I'm currently at, deep in the woods of Midwest Tennessee. Where are you at in the world? I see Kay from Australia. There comes the mailman. Here's Tina from Arizona. Where in the world are you? What city, what state, what country? Tell me where you're watching from in the comments, please. Don't be shy. No need to be shy here. Nobody will bite you or ban you for having an opinion here. I welcome any vegans or vegetarians. If you have questions about nutrition, about health, I'm happy to answer your questions as well. A lot of keto, carnivore doctors want to make fun of the vegans and vegetarians or want to block them. I think they're just like the rest of us. I think they're in search of a proper human diet. And I think that although they can be a little bit preachy, but so can some carnivores, right? I think that ultimately they want good health for themselves and their family. And I'm here to help improve the health of everybody. So you can help me in doing that by hitting the thumbs up or the heart right now. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to this channel, and I'm going to be answering your questions for the next hour or so. All right, here's a question from One Deaf Pure. Is it possible that the Lyme diet is worse for my OCD than carnivore? As I tried carnivore for 90 days and carnivore for about 22 days now, and no relief, been feeling pretty bad, to be honest. Any advice? So I don't think anyone's ever said that any version of a proper human diet is going to cure your OCD. But we've had so many people now whose OCD symptoms improved, in some cases drastically improved, with a very low carbohydrate diet, whether that's real whole food keto or ketovore or carnivore or the Lyme diet. And so 90 days of carnivore, that's long enough that you should have seen some benefits. It may be that you are on some medication that's slowing down your improvement. I see this very often. It could be that what you thought was carnivore is maybe not 100% carnivore. People trying to treat mental health conditions with keto, ketovore, carnivore have to typically be high fat keto or carnivore. It can't just be kind of lean, low fat. It needs to be higher fat. So maybe your fat macro just wasn't high enough. You need to cook it in bacon grease and put some butter on top of it. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Now, if you have a very pressing question, if you include it in a super chat, it gets bumped to the top of the list. But I take questions from everybody. Oh, here's Dr. Volker Menzel in Germany. 4-year carnivore over there in Germany. Welcome, doctor. Glad to have you. Here's Junie Bug. Hey, Junie Bug, how's it going? So Rob's got a very common question. Would carnivore help with my GERD? There's no research yet on this, although there are some research studies being planned. But I can just tell you, Rob, that me, along with thousands of other carnivores, have had a drastic improvement in our GERD symptoms, reflux symptoms, gastritis, esophagitis. It gets markedly better, whether you have eosinophilic esophagitis or just reflux, GERD, esophagitis, heartburn. It gets better on carnivore. My heartburn used to be terrible. It got 80% better on keto. And then when I went full carnivore, it went completely away. And I have zero heartburn now and haven't had for all the years that I've been on carnivore. Carnivore helps with esophagitis, GERD, reflux. It also helps with gastritis. It helps with duodenitis. You ever heard of that? It helps definitely with colitis, IBS, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease. Anybody who has a gut problem like that, they need to absolutely do 90 days of a carnivore diet. And they may need to stay on carnivore long term, but at least 90 days, because what they're going to find is that their colon symptoms, their gut symptoms just calm down and get better. Brett, that's a good question from Brett. So I'm a big proponent of getting enough iodine in your diet. If you can, I've got a YouTube video about 7 iodine-rich foods. But if you can't eat enough of those foods, then definitely I want you to supplement, because every cell in your body, every single cell, not just your thyroid, needs iodine every single day. It's a big deal that a lot of doctors don't talk about. And recently I heard a guru out there on the internet say that, well, iodine will kill bacteria. It'll mess up your gut bacteria. So this is a good example of somebody who means well and is educated enough to think that they should have an opinion, but not educated enough to have a correct opinion. And here's why that's incorrect. Iodine, when you put eat iodine-rich foods, or when you put some Lugol's 2% iodine drops in your coffee or your water, that's absorbed in the first 2/3 of your small intestine, completely absorbed. Almost none of it makes it to your colon, your large intestine, where your microbiome actually lives. You don't have a microbiome in your duodenum or your jejunum. There's no microbiome there. And that's where iodine is absorbed. And so by the time everything gets to your colon, all the iodine's gone. So it's not like you're bombing your colon bacteria with iodine. That's not even how the human digestive system works. And so, yes, you're not going to mess up your gut microbiome at all by supplementing with iodine. That's not how the human body works. Here's Saif in Saudi Arabia. Hey, Saif. I'd love to have a discussion with Lane Norton. Scott, Dr. Nick Norwitz has reached out to Lane Norton multiple times and said, hey, let's have a discussion or a debate, whichever you prefer. I've reached out to Lane multiple times and said, hey, come on my channel. Let's talk about nutrition. He doesn't seem to be interested in that. So not sure what his goals are, but I don't know if his goals are educating people and helping people, or if it's something else. I don't know. But he has not responded to any of those requests. Elena says, what do you think of colonoscopy? Do you do it for yourself? I've never had a colonoscopy. I'm 56 years of age. I've never had a colonoscopy, and I don't plan on having one unless my annual stool sample that I mail off every year comes back positive for signs of potential colon cancer, in which case then I'll schedule a colonoscopy. Even the American Gastroenterological Association, that's the guys that do the colonoscopes. Even they say that if you do the once a year FOBT or FIT test, where you basically put a poop sample on a card and mail it off, if you do that every year, that's just as good of a detector for early colon cancer as getting a colonoscopy. And so most people are not really excited about getting a colonoscopy. Maybe some people are. But if you'd rather not, then just tell your doctor, I want to do the once a year test. Just give me one of those. I'll take it home and do that. That's just as good. So says the AGA, the people who actually write the guidelines for colon cancer. Here's Tina. Will the carnivore diet help my leaky mitral valve? So the carnivore diet is going to help you indirectly in multiple ways, Tina. It's going, your heart actually contracts and works better on ketones than it does on sugars. And so your heart rate is going to be more steady. Your heartbeat is going to be stronger. Your ejection fraction is going to be better. It's not going to repair your mitral valve defect. That may or may not get worse with time. You may or may not have to have that replaced, but the carnivore diet indirectly is going to help your heart function in many, many ways. Let's see. Leonie says, if I have a pound of very lean meat, how much fat do I need to add? So first thing I want you all to understand is this is not rocket science. You don't have to have your scales and weigh everything. You don't have to have a micrometer and measure everything. No animal on earth does that, right? So what I would encourage you to do in the future, stop buying lean meat. If you're going to eat chicken thighs and legs with the skin on. That bumps up the fat macro. If you've got a very lean piece of beef like sirloin with all the fat trimmed off, then cook it in bacon grease and then put some butter on top of it. That's going to bump up your fat ratio. Eating a low fat diet is no fun whatsoever. That's why everybody fails at it. Put some fat on there. Cook it in a good, healthy animal fat. Yep. Mega Camaro, 1968. Prostate improvements to be expected on beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Hundreds, probably thousands of guys at this point are like, yeah, I used to have severe BPH, prostatic hypertrophy, enlargement, had a lot of trouble urinating, maybe had trouble with other aspects in the bedroom. Since being on beef, butter, bacon, and eggs for 60, 90, 120 days, my symptoms are greatly improved. Okay, because much of an enlarged prostate is inflammatory in nature. And when you cut out the inflammatory things, that tends to get better. Now, for most people, they have to cut out dairy as well, except for butter or ghee. So if you've got an enlarged prostate, you're having prostate symptoms, absolutely do 90 days of carnivore without the cheese and the sour cream and the cream cheese and the ricotta and the cottage cheese. Leave the cheese out and just eat the meat, eggs, and seafood. And I think you'll be very happy with your improvements. Yeah, Joshua says, will carnivore diet get rid of bladder stones or kidney stones? 100%. Yes, I'm assuming you meant urinary bladder stones, maybe gallstones. But here's the thing: either one, whether gallstones or kidney stones, you're going to stop making new ones on a carnivore diet with enough fat in it. That's going to take care of the gallstones. They're going to shrink and go away. Kidney stones, 80% of the time, 85% of the time, they're calcium oxalate stones. Where do you get oxalates from? Plants. You can actually look up on the internet, give me a list of high oxalate foods, and it'll give you the top 20. They're all plants. So many people, when they have a kidney stone, their doctor tells them, oh, you got to quit eating meat. You got to don't drink milk. You got to eat a plant-based diet. That's literally the worst advice on planet Earth. If you've had a kidney stone in the past, a plant-based diet is the last thing you want to be eating, because that's going to increase the odds that you have another kidney stone. because most kidney stones by far and away are oxalate stones. Oxalates come from plants. Keep that in mind. It's very, very important. Rosalie's got a question. I looked into this, Rosalie, because I'd never heard of it. Colorless iodine. So most iodine is a very dark, dark, dark red. That's the normal color of iodine. And even back decades ago, when I was in organic chemistry in college and inorganic chemistry and general chemistry, the iodine we used for experiments was always deep, deep dark red, brownish red. And then I keep hearing about this colorless iodine. And I looked into it. I'm like, I don't even know how that's chemically possible that iodine is clear liquid. So what it is it has a very tiny amount of iodine in it. One drop of Lugol's 2% has about 2,500 micrograms of iodine in two different forms. But one drop of one full-size serving of the colorless iodine has 150 micrograms. So more than 10 times less, way more. So it's basically, it doesn't have much iodine in it at all. It has such a tiny amount of iodine that it's colorless. That's not ever going to be enough iodine to give you the benefits you're looking for. All right. Good question. Good question. I'm glad you brought that up. West Coast Lass. Is it normal for food sensitivities to make rosacea worse? What is it about dairy that can flare the skin? Love you guys. Thanks, Doc. So yes, rosacea, I actually have or had rosacea for probably 15 years. I used to have to put hydrocortisone cream on my face once or twice a week, kind of keep it at bay. It was a little bit embarrassing. When I went keto, it got 90% better. And on carnivore, it's like I don't even have it anymore. Okay. And now my carnivore is with no dairy, because her question is, what is it about dairy that can flare up the skin? So dairy has the fat, the dairy fat. It has protein, and it has lactose, or the sugar. Now, most of the cheese, most of the lactose is going to be gone, right? So that's not the problem with cheese. But what the protein is made up of different caseins and different ways. Milk is for baby mammals. Milk is not a food for an adult mammal. That's you. You're an adult mammal. Okay. There's no other mammal on planet Earth that drinks milk as an adult unless humans give it to them. Think about that. In the wild, there's not a weasel. There's not an opossum. There's no mammal that's ever figured out, hey, I can sneak into the wildebeest herd in the middle of the night, and my saliva's got some numbing stuff in it. So I'll lick the teat of this wildebeest and numb it up, and then I'll drink her milk, because milk is very nutrient dense, very rich in nutrition. So that it's a great nutrition source. There would be a mammal out there that had evolved to do that. They would sneak into the buffalo herd or the wildebeest herd, and it would suck the milk in the middle of the night. But there is no such mammal, because mammals are smart enough to know, even if they've never been to college, that milk is for baby mammals. The caseins and the wheys are not inflammatory to babies in a bad way. But for many, many adult humans, the caseins and the wheys are inflammatory. Plus or minus the lactose, which we know that 70% of the adult population of humans on planet Earth are lactose intolerant. Did you know that? 66 to 70% of every human alive right now on planet Earth is lactose intolerant. Now, I've heard people say, oh, raw milk will fix that. No, raw milk has lactose as well. Okay. And I heard somebody say there's lactase in raw milk that breaks down the lactose. If you understand biology at all, that doesn't even make any sense, because then the baby calf wouldn't be getting the lactose that the baby calf needs if there was lactase in the raw dairy. So all dairy, all liquid dairy has lactose. All liquid dairy has caseins and wheys. And for some people, they don't seem to be very inflammatory. But for many people, they're quite inflammatory. For some people, the inflammation will manifest as skin inflammation, like rosacea, psoriasis, eczema, chicken flesh, or other skin irritation. For some people, it manifests as gut irritation, IBS symptoms, stuff like that, gastritis, eosinophilic esophagitis, things like that from the casein in the whey and dairy. So this is one of the very few things that I agree with the vegans on, is that if you're under the age of 5, 6, 7 years of age, drink your milk. It's fine. It's good for you. But if you're older than that, you probably should not be drinking milk, and you should probably limit your dairy to occasional treats. And that upsets a lot of people, especially when I talk bad about raw milk. And I'm not talking bad about raw milk. I think raw milk, if properly handled and fresh, is the least bad of any dairy option. If you could find raw goat's milk that was properly handled and fresh, that would be the least bad version of dairy that a human being could drink. So, but that's what's going on. And so many plants, West Coast Lass, have inflammatory things in them. Some people call them phytonutrients. Some people call them phytochemicals. The names are kind of interchangeable. Let's see. Oh, Jackie, thank you very much. Here's Paul Beater, strict carnivore for almost 2 years. WL stalled, weight loss stalled for 6 months, still eating 2 pounds of fatty meat each day. All labs you suggest are in range. Maybe need to have full thyroid panel checked. Yep. And your adrenal labs and your sex hormones, Paul Beater. Any of you guys, if you're eating a fatty carnivore diet and your weight loss is just not doing what everybody else, they get on carnivore and they're losing weight like crazy, and you're like, yeah, my weight loss is stalled for more than 3 months, you need to go get some labs checked. You probably have an undiagnosed thyroid, adrenal, or sex hormone condition. That's probably what's going on. Here's a question from Forgotten Vet. I eat 1 pound of beef and 2 eggs a day. If I start lifting heavy, should I eat more, even if I'm not hungry? No. This is, again, all animals have got this figured out, but humans, we've forgotten. So Forgotten Vet is happy right now on 1 pound of beef and 2 eggs a day. That doesn't seem like a lot to me, unless you may be a smaller person, but that definitely wouldn't be enough for me. But if you start lifting heavy weights, trying to build muscle and build your bones, your appetite is going to naturally increase. All this stuff is hardwired inside your body. People forget that. They forget the human body's been doing this for a long damn time. Through trial and error over millions of years, our body's got all this figured out. All you got to do is not poison your body. That's literally all you have to do. And if you'll just not poison your body, your hunger hormones and your satiety hormones and your sleep hormones and your waking hormones, they all will go back to where they should be, and everything will just work better. So what will happen when you start lifting heavy is your appetite will ramp up, and you'll be like, dude, I need more than 1 pound of beef. And that's exactly what we would predict from a biological standpoint, right? If you had a horse in the pasture that was just goofing around, they would eat so much grass a day. But if you started hooking that horse up to a plow and making them work for 8 hours a day, their hunger would go up and they would eat more. You wouldn't have to, the horse wouldn't have to download Chronometer, right? Or a carb manager. They wouldn't have to track how much grass, how many carbs, how much protein. They would just be like, they would just eat more. And other animals know that. They're like, yeah, I'm working harder, I'm going to eat more. But humans, we've forgotten what we are, and we've forgotten that our body knows how to do all this. Thank you guys for all hitting the thumbs up or the heart. If you haven't done that, please consider it. It helps the algorithm. Life's abundant journey. Doctors always associate salt with edema. Yep. What are your thoughts about the cause of pitting foot edema in a 65-year-old? So the first thing you need to do is go to a doctor and have your heart checked, your liver checked, and your kidneys checked, because those are the 3 dangerous things that can cause edema. Then if you've got a knowledgeable doctor, ask them about lipedema. Could it be that? Most doctors won't know what that means, but hopefully yours will. And if they check for all that stuff and say, no, you don't, your heart's fine, kidney's fine, liver fine, then you know that you're eating too many carbohydrates. You're eating too much sugar, whether that's in the form of broccoli or whether that's in the form of jelly donuts. You need to cut the carbs. What that's going to do is allow your blood sugar level to come down. That'll allow your insulin level to come down. And then you'll pee off all the unhealthy edema, stored water in your body. And indeed, when we have somebody go meet heavy keto or carnivore, in the first week, they'll lose anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds the first week. That's all the unhealthy stored water that they've been holding because of inflammation and hyperinsulinemia. Good questions today, guys. Good questions. If you haven't already done so, please consider sharing this on your favorite social media. That helps me reach new people. You used to didn't know the stuff I'm talking about, but now you do. How did you learn that? Somebody shared a video with you. So click the share button and help me reach new people who don't know the good news about a proper human diet yet. Mark, hey doc, my brother sent me a study. It was an article from Arnold Schwarzenegger's blog about how fiber can protect against microplastic absorption in the gut. What do you think of this claim? I've been following the microplastic and nanoplastic thing for 3 years now. I have not seen a shred of evidence that eating a high fiber diet will somehow prevent you from absorbing microplastics in your body. No, I'll look again. Maybe there's something new. I doubt that Arnold Schwarzenegger pays attention, or whoever writes his blog. I'm sure he doesn't. But I doubt that they have looked into the micro nanoplastic stuff as much as I have. But I'll look again just to make sure. But currently, I know of no research that supports this whatsoever. Good question. Elena, what do you think? No, we already did that, Elena. Yep. Noni. I used to have an aunt named Noni. Do you know of anyone who's been helped with carnivore, keto, or Lyme with myasthenia gravis? So myasthenia gravis is a pretty rare condition. And so I've only talked to 3 or 4 people who have tried carnivore for it. And all 3 of them told me that their symptoms were less severe. And that they, you know how with MG, myasthenia gravis, you start off pretty good in the morning. Then as the day goes on, you get more and more tired. Finally, by the afternoon, you can't even hardly hold your eyelids open. They report that they have more hours of the day when their muscles are not fatigued. And so if you or anybody you know has myasthenia gravis, I would highly encourage you to try 90 days of beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And then please report back because we need more case reports on MG. Michelle, hey, Dr. B, any thoughts on whether HRT will help improve my weight loss results? Yeah, for all women watching this, if your testosterone levels are low and your progesterone levels are low, your weight loss is going to be much slower. That's just known. Full hysterectomy in 2018. Did they take your ovaries or leave them? Fasting insulin is always over 11. Yeah, you need to get your sex hormones checked, and I would get a full thyroid panel as well. If you have any questions about like what labs do I need to check, I wrote this book with Kim Howerton called Common Sense Labs, and you can actually get a copy of this. It's available on Amazon. And it's got all the labs in there, the full thyroid panel, the adrenal labs, the sex hormones, and many other lab tests we talk about in this book. So if you're interested in that, that's how you find out about that. Jennifer. Hey, Jennifer. Trigeminal neuralgia is also known as suicide disease. Yeah, tic Delarue can be excruciatingly painful. Yet carnivore has me pain-free on a small fraction of the meds. Now, so when Jennifer says trigeminal neuralgia, that's a specific nerve in the face, and it's algia, inflammation or irritation of that nerve. Now, if you talk to the average doctor about trigeminal neuralgia or neuropathy, small cell neuropathy, any of that kind of stuff, they're going to be like, oh, diet doesn't have anything to do with that. But Jennifer's right here, right now, telling you guys, and she's right. Some people with trigeminal neuralgia, which in the old days was called tic Delarue, people would jump off a building. It's just such a sharp, lancinating, severe pain, usually on one side of the face. It's so ungodly painful that people will literally end their life. Yes, she's absolutely right about that. But hers
has gotten so much better that she's been able to decrease the amount of medication she takes for it. This Jennifer's results here that's the same result you're going to find from any neurological condition, from Alzheimer's to Huntington's to any neuralgia or neuropathy. It's going to get less severe when you eat the most uninflammatory diet on the planet, which is a proper human diet, which is meat-heavy keto, real whole food keto, not keto bread and keto cakes from the store. That's not keto. Or Ketovore or carnivore. You're going to notice that your symptoms get significantly less severe. Beth, a friend has mast cell activation syndrome combined with Lyme. What's the best treatment? So she definitely needs to find a doctor who understands Lyme disease and where Lyme disease actually came from. Many doctors either do not know or do not believe the actual origin story of Lyme disease. And then the mast cell activation syndrome also can be almost disabling for many people. Carnivore, I think, is the best dietary option, at least to start with. 90 days of beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And then after you've calmed down all the inflammation, it's not going to cure Lyme disease. It's not going to cure MCAS. Okay. It's just going to significantly lessen the symptoms. Better than any prescription medication is what I think you'll find. Then you can start playing around and experimenting. Well, I love broccoli. Can I add some broccoli back in? And then see if your symptoms flare back up. And before long, you'll have a list of foods that are delicious and nutrient dense that you can eat every day that don't cause your conditions to flare up. It's quite powerful when you figured out, oh, I can eat this list of foods and it does not flare up my condition, but I cannot touch these foods over here. They'll flare it up. And you may think, well, gosh, that sounds restrictive. Now I can never eat those foods again. But if you ask somebody like Beth, she'd be like, dude, why would I eat those foods again? They literally make my disease flare up, make my symptoms worse. Why would I want to eat that ever again? And I agree with Beth. Carnigal, hey doc, almost 4 years carnivore, intermittent fasting, and I still get little things pushing up through the skin. Am I still detoxing? Maybe. Keep in mind that sometimes you just have stuff in your skin pores. Okay, it can be accumulated serum or sebum, I should have said, that just kind of builds up and gets hard and then comes out. When I was a teenager, we call these blackheads, and you can have those on your face, your back, your neck, your chest, other parts of your body. Sometimes it's just a blackhead. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're still detoxing from some thing in the past. It could be, but probably not. Probably just a blackhead. Andrew, Dr. Allo seems to bash people on carnivore and states studies about LDL as number one reason. How do we rest assured that what we are doing is right? So you want assurances. You want a guarantee. So currently, we're all living in this simulation called real life. Okay? There's no guarantee. There's no cheat button. There's no easy button. What we all have to do is try to rediscover what a proper human diet is for us. Now, Dr. Allo and I, we follow each other on Twitter. And sometimes he posts things that are very inflammatory, very derogatory, very negative. And even the other day, a Twitter account that goes by the handle Dr. Lipid, who's one of the preeminent lipid researchers in the world, he actually called out Dr. Allo and he said, actually, you're wrong about this, because he was stating some vegan principle that he thought would sway us carnivores. And one of the leading authorities on lipidology said, yeah, actually, that's not true. You should be more careful with what you say. Dr. Allo has been invited by me and Dr. Nick Norwitz and many others to say, hey, come on, let's have a discussion about diet. And somehow he's always busy. Not sure why that is. There is no guarantee, okay? All we can do is there's three things we get to go on. We get to go on what have humans done for thousands or millions of years because that's through the trial and error of everyday life, we figured out, oh, if you want to start a fire, you have to do the following things. And then when we learn that, we pass it on to our tribe. And then it becomes stored knowledge in our collective brains. And then everybody knows how to start a fire. That same principle applies with food. Let's go back in time, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 years ago. What did people eat? We know this is knowable. Paleoanthropologists know very well that we ate meat-heavy diets anytime we had a choice. That's what we've always eaten. Now, Dr. Allo somehow thinks that, well, yeah, maybe that's true, but now we know vegan is the best way. When did it become the best way? Has there ever been a single example of a successful civilization that ate a vegan diet? Ever in recorded history? Because if the vegan diet was as powerful as Dr. Allo and others claim it to be, there should be multiple examples of very successful civilizations that ate a vegan diet, right? But when you really start to study history and archaeology and anthropology, what you find is that even 1,000 years ago, it was effectively impossible to eat a vegan diet and not starve to death. It was impossible. So the vegan diet is a modern invention. A lot of people call it the spoiled modern diet. Like, oh, well, we've got all these refrigerated trucks and refrigerated airplanes and refrigerated ships. We can just ship food from all over the world. You guys understand that even 100 years ago, that wasn't possible. Even 100 years ago. And if I know this because I've studied refrigeration, because that's a tangential to nutrition. Even 100 years ago, you couldn't just make yourself a cheeseburger. Literally, wherever you lived in the world, there would be parts of that you needed that would not be available. And if 100 years ago, if you tried to live and thrive on a vegan diet, you would literally starve to death, develop vitamin deficiencies, and die. There's multiple examples of this. There's a story in history about this group of people that went to this island. They were going to live on coconuts and bananas. And it was just when the vegan diet was getting popular. I can't remember the guy's name, but I'll ask me later and I'll tell you his name. But they moved to this island. They were just going to eat fruits and coconuts and bananas. That's it. No animals, nothing else. And some of them got so malnourished, their teeth fell out. They couldn't even walk. They had to go back home. And some of them died on the island because they got so malnourished and they were just so hard-headed they refused to give up. A vegan diet is not an ancestrally appropriate diet. There is no evidence of any civilization being vegan ever. Okay. And so what Dr. Allo is basically saying is, well, modern researchers, we figured this all out. We figured out the entire DNA, genetics and epigenetics and the gut microbiome. We figured all this out. We can use pharmaceuticals and supplements. You can eat a vegan diet and it's the healthiest diet to eat. Now, when it comes to modern things, I love the latest cell phone. I love the latest electronic equipment. But when it comes to diet and when it comes to lifestyle, this DNA, your DNA, is ancient. Your DNA is no different from your 200th great-grandmother or father who lived 10,000 years ago. Your DNA is the same as theirs. Your DNA is the same as your ancestors who lived 100,000 years ago. We are an ancient species. We cannot eat a modern factory-made diet without getting sick. And indeed, when you look at modern populations of people who live on frankenfood, pseudo food that comes from a factory, you see diabetes and obesity. It's malnourished obesity. They're fat, but they've got vitamin and mineral deficiencies. They got fatty liver. They got brain fog. They get early cancer, early dementia. I could go on and on and on. That's what happens when you take an ancient species and try to feed them this modern factory-made diet. It just doesn't work. And I think Dr. Allo means well, but I think he's completely wrong about this. Lover Dad. I have GERD gastritis, became carnivore for 6 months, still have symptoms. Is there a possibility it's due to hypochlorhydria? Probably not. If you haven't already, you need to go see a gastroenterologist and have an EGD, have the scope. Started taking omeprazole. Will take for 2 months. What's your opinion? Yeah, go see a GI specialist, get a scope, and make sure there's not an anatomical defect. Make sure that your lower esophageal sphincter is competent. Make sure that you don't have something going on with your esophagus. Take the omeprazole for a couple of months, and then I would, after you've seen the GI doc and he says, no, everything's okay, I would try 90 days of carnivore with no dairy except for butter. And I think that probably will be the thing that does it for you. Sharon, I need to know which ingredients in bacon are okay. Is there a website you trust for looking up food additives? So bacon is not a high ultra processed food. A lot of people try to lump it in, say, oh, bacon is, that's processed. Bacon is a hunk of meat that has been sliced up and cured with salt. That's what bacon is. It's just sliced up meat that they sprinkle salt on. Okay? Bacon is a health food. Now, there are some companies that will add a lot of maple sugar or maple syrup flavor, artificial flavors, other kind of crap like that. But all you have to do is flip it over. It should say ingredients, pork, salt, and then maybe it's got a little preservative or something in it. That's it. That's all that's in bacon. There's no magical thing. And a lot of people say, oh, but the nitrates are good for you. Okay. That's why all the vegans are promoting beet greens and green drinks, is because they're full of nitrates. The nitrate in beet greens and the nitrates in bacon, when you ingest them, they turn into nitric oxide. They actually help lower your blood pressure. Bacon will help lower your blood pressure because it contains nitrates. Nitrates are not bad for you. Humans have been curing meat with some form of nitrate salt for hundreds, if not thousands of years. This is not some new modern weird thing. It's actually very old technology. Behind our house here, where Nisha's grandparents used to live, there was an old smokehouse where Nisha's grandfather would butcher a pig, cut it up, salt it, hang it, and smoke it. And then they would eat it. And Nisha's grandfather lived to be 94. Her grandmother lived to be 89. They ate bacon and eggs every single morning. Bacon is not some weird fad. Bacon is not some chemical shitstorm. This is all foolishness. That goes for all processed meat, okay? Bologna and hot dogs are not junk food. If you read the ingredients, you can buy relatively clean bologna, relatively clean hot dogs. It's just ground up meat, salt, and spices. That's what bologna is. That's what hot dogs are. Where's the problem? Salt, spices, meat. That's what they're made of. I'm sorry if I offended anybody. At least one person gets offended when I say that bologna and hot dogs are health food. They're like, oh, I can't listen to you anymore. That's sacrilegious. That's blasphemous. I understand that that's how you feel, but understand that your feeling is an emotion. It's not based on fact. Casey, I feel guilty eating a lot of saturated fat going from keto to carnivore. Is it bad to use one ingredient, avocado oil? Casey, why do you feel guilty eating animal fat? Is that what you mean? Why do you feel guilty? That's literally what every single one of your ancestors for 1,000 generations back ate every day. That's the fat that they craved. That's the fat that they hunted for. They would eat some avocados if they came across them, for sure. But every day they were hunting for the fatty meat. Why would you have an emotional feeling about an ancestrally appropriate food. I don't understand that. I think avocado oil is fine if it hasn't been adulterated. But olive oil, avocado oil are very often adulterated. They basically cut them half and half with canola or soybean, and you can't tell the difference. You might think you can, but you can't. They've actually tested this. Even expert olive oil tasters can't tell if it's been cut or not. Eat the fat that comes with the meat. Cook it in bacon grease, slap some butter on it. That's the kind of fat you want to be focusing on. Susie, can I still lose weight eating low carb? Yes. I'm struggling to lose pounds, only losing inches. Cook all my meat. I have celiacs. So, Susie, yeah, you're losing inches. That means your body's getting set up to lose pounds. You just need to probably cut the carbs a little more, have some patience, and then, like I told the previous questioner, if your weight loss is still slower than you think it should be, go get a full thyroid panel, get your adrenal labs, get your sex hormones checked. Okay, cut the carbs a little more and eat more fatty red meat, eat more egg yolks, and you'll keep losing inches, and eventually the scale will move, I promise. And your celiac will never flare up eating a carnivore diet. Thank you very much, Amy. William, I have fatty liver and I have a hole in my intestinal lining. And when I eat chicken with skin, it clogs me up. What can I do? So you definitely don't have a hole in your intestinal lining or you would die, William. I don't know who told you that, but you would be in the hospital. You'd be on IV antibiotics if that were true. You'd be scheduled for surgery. You can reverse your fatty liver completely. I've got several videos on my YouTube channel about how to reverse fatty liver by eating fatty meat and not eating any carbohydrates. You can reverse your fatty liver within 3 to 6 months. It'll be completely gone. And I've yet to see an example where that didn't happen. I'm always looking for signal. I'm constantly looking at feedback from people. Fatty liver is one of the first things to go away. It's one of the quickest things to go away when you adopt a meat-heavy keto diet made of real whole foods, not keto pancakes and keto syrup and keto cookies, but real whole keto, meat heavy, or Ketovore or carnivore. Fatty liver is going to be gone in a month or 2 or 3. Yeah, it's going to be gone. And you don't have a hole in your intestinal lining. Chicken skin is absorbed in your duodenum and in the first part of your jejunum. It's not going to clog you up. It's not what's clogging you up. It's something else if you're truly getting clogged up. I'm not sure what symptoms you're talking about. Now, I don't know if you're a member of our private community or not, William, but I would love to be able to ask you a few extra questions. So if you're in our community, I'm going to be live at 5 p.m. Central this evening in there. And instead of 4,500 people asking questions, we'll have 150, 200. And I'll be able to answer your questions, William, about this and help you understand this better. So there's a link in the show notes if you want to become part of our community. I'd love to answer some more questions. Jess, what food should I eat to lower liver enzymes? Low carb, avoid fructose, avoid alcohol. 400 alkaline phosphatase, can I still reverse liver damage? Unless you've been told that you have cirrhosis of the liver, you'll be able to reverse all of the liver inflammation and damage you may have. I have cholangitis. Doing Ketovore diet, what supplements? Eat 2 ounces of liver twice a week. You won't need any supplements at all except for iodine and vitamin D3, K2 if you live somewhere where the sun's not shining. Good questions today, guys. Keep it up. If you haven't already done so, hit that thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you follow this account because some people think they are and they're not. Here's Amy. 46-year-old RN, KLD, TXP. Want to share with all my CKD patients now. 9 days full carnivore, Ketovore a couple of months before first poop 9 days. Is that really okay? It can be because most of what you're eating on carnivore is completely absorbed. When you're eating a vegan diet, a processed food diet, a plant-based diet, most of what you're eating, you can't even absorb it. That's why you poop 2 or 3 times a day. Now, not only pooping after 9 days, that's stretching it. You probably need to go see your doctor. Just make sure everything's okay. But if you didn't have any pain, if you didn't have any bloating, if you're like, no, I felt fine, I just didn't poop for a bunch of days, then that's probably because what you're eating on a carnivore diet is pure nutrition. You absorb it all. There's almost none left to poop out. But see your doctor just to make sure. Most carnivores poop either once a day or every other day or every third day. That's what most carnivores do. And we even see this in other species of carnivore. Lions and tigers poop once a day or every other day. Cheetahs, same thing. Most carnivores don't poop multiple times a day. Now, if you start looking at herbivores that eat plants all day, every day, they poop multiple times a day. Chimpanzees, gorillas, bonobos poop 3 to 6 times a day because they live on plants. If you eat predominantly animal source foods, you don't make as much poop because you're not eating waste. Therefore, you don't have to poop out waste. That freaks some people out. They think, oh, no, in order to be healthy, I need to poop 3 times a day. The more you poop, the better. The bigger your bowel movement, the better. That's never been proven. That's just conjecture, okay? That all started from Dr. Burkett when he was in Africa. He was just a prominent physician back in England. He came home and said, these natives eat a lot of fruit and plants and vegetables, and they just poop these ginormous piles of poop, and none of them have cancer. Well, yeah, because they're eating, they're living in the sunlight. They're living on the earth. You don't get cancer when you live like that. You get cancer when you live in a modern society and try to eat modern things. It had nothing to do with the volume of their bowel movement. That's not why they didn't have cancer. They had cancer because they were not eating the preservatives and the junk and the ultra-processed factory food. Old rooster tails. I'm having blood pressure issues. It's sitting around 140s over 90s. Now I got anxiety from it, which makes my blood pressure worse. It's a cycle. Yes, it can be. Can you recommend anything to help with the anxiety first? So first of all, your blood pressure is not that bad. 140 over 90 is not bad. I'd like for it to be a little lower, but that's not terrible. Okay. That's not like, oh my God, I'm going to die of blood pressure. So take a deep breath and calm down. Watch my YouTube video about how to check your blood pressure properly, because what many of you may not know is that your doctor's office does it wrong. Yeah, they do. And if you watch my video, I'll tell you every single way your doctor's office is checking your blood pressure wrong. And what that does is it makes your blood pressure falsely high when they check it wrong. Okay. So watch that video, get a blood pressure cuff that checks up here, not on your wrist. These are more accurate. Take a deep breath and sit calmly for 10 to 15 minutes, old rooster tail, before you check your blood pressure. How many of you guys knew that all the blood pressure research, that's how they establish what a normal blood pressure is? They would put people in a dark room and they would sit there for 15 minutes, calm and relaxed. Then they check their blood pressure. So when you run into your doctor's office, running late, they hurry you back, sit you down. They're asking you questions while they check your blood pressure. You got to pee, but they didn't let you go pee. Your legs are crossed or your legs are dangling. You didn't take your coat off, didn't take your shirt off. They're asking you questions you're having to answer. All those things make your blood pressure falsely high. And they literally rush you back and check it immediately. Your blood pressure is going to be anywhere from 10 to 20 points falsely high if you do that. If you've got to pee, it'll be 5 to 10 points falsely high. If your feet are dangling off the edge of the table or your legs are crossed, it can be 5 to 10 points falsely high. There are millions of people in the United States right now who are taking a blood pressure medicine and they don't even have high blood pressure. Because when they watch my YouTube video about how to check your blood pressure properly and they do it at home, their blood pressure is beautiful. And I would predict, old rooster tail, that if you watch that video and you start following exactly what I say, your blood pressure is going to be 130s over 80s, which is completely normal. And then you can calm down. Suzuki Samurai, thank you very much. Richard, TSH 1.0, 7, free T4, 0.9, free T3, 3.3, T3 total 109, but thyroid peroxidase antibody 76. So you have Hashimoto's, anxiety, heart palpitations, which can be a symptom of Hashimoto's thyroiditis. You need to find a doctor who understands what Hashimoto's is and go see them, because you definitely have Hashimoto's. Your TPO antibodies high. If any of you guys, you have thyroid symptoms, but your doc keeps saying your thyroid's normal, you need to check a full thyroid panel, and that includes a TPO antibody and a TG antibody to see if you have Hashimoto's. Many doctors will say, oh, you don't have Hashimoto's. And then when you say, well, did you check my TPO antibody and my TG antibody? They're like, nah, I don't even know what that is. Then how the hell do you know, doctor, that they don't have Hashimoto's if you didn't check the test needed to diagnose Hashimoto's? How'd you do that? Are you psychic? Yeah, you've got to check specific thyroid tests to know if you have Hashimoto's. If you don't check the tests, it's impossible to know. Thank you, Natasha, very much. Suzuki Samurai, I haven't consumed sugar for 4 years. I'd like to know more about all the different sugars and how they affect the body. Any recommendations on a source? So I have hundreds of YouTube videos where I talk about sugar. So the sugar in dairy is lactose, which is made up of 1 glucose and 1 galactose. Fructose is the sugar found in fruits and fruit juice. It's 1 molecule of glucose, 1 of fructose. Okay. Maltose is made up of 2 fructose. Glucose and dextrose are both the same thing. So a lot of you people are using salt right now. If you go get your salt, especially the Umbrella Girl salt, and you look on the ingredients, it'll say salt and dextrose. Yeah, your salt has literal sugar in it. Okay, so there's glucose, fructose, maltose, galactose, and then lactose. And the lactose is made up of a combination. Okay. That's the sugars. And I talk about those in many, many videos on my YouTube channel and go into detail about what they are and what they mean. How many of you people, are you enjoying this? Does this seem like good, useful information to you? Does this sound like information that people would benefit from hearing? I hope so, because that's my goal, is to help educate you with the truth about nutrition, the truth about what your diet should be. I don't want you to be on a diet. I want you to find your proper human diet, and then that's just your way of eating. We talk about the lion diet for lions, not Michaela Peterson's lion diet. We talk about a sheep diet, a cow diet, a horse diet. That doesn't mean that the horse is trying to lose weight. That's just the food that the horse is supposed to eat. Okay. Oh, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. And if you really are enjoying this, please click the share button. Help me help new people who don't know what you know. You didn't know it until you learned it, right? And how did you learn it? You learned it from watching videos and reading books, reading blog posts. Share this information, please. You can tag somebody in this. You can share it in an email, in a WhatsApp, in a text message. Let's get the word about a proper human diet out there, because there are millions and millions of people suffering. And they're like, no, I'm drinking this green drink, and I'm eating a plant-based diet, and I'm taking this $200 a month line of supplements. They're literally lost. They're trying. They're motivated. They want to get healthy. They're spending their money because that's what they think they have to do. They don't understand that if they just went to the supermarket and bought real food and avoided the pseudo food, that's all they got to do. That's literally all you have to do to get healthy. And I love it that you guys are learning that or already know that. But I want to help all those other millions of people out there who don't know. And I need you to help me. Thank you very much, TCN, for sharing. Anybody else share? Tell me in the comments so I can thank you. That's my job, Rosalie. Rosalie says, you help me so much. My job as a doctor is to help as many people get healthy as possible, to get rid of obesity, to get rid of type 2 diabetes, to get rid of fatty liver, to get rid of chronic progressive diseases that humans shouldn't even have to start with, to lessen suffering. That's my job. That's my literal job. Now, a lot of doctors think, oh, no, my job is to see patients one-on-one in the clinic. Well, that's one way to do it. And I did it that way for 22 years. Still do it part-time. But I find that I can help way more people by being on social media, being on YouTube, making these videos, answering questions. Because when I answer one question for one person, I'm actually answering that question for 20 or 30 people. When there's 4,800 people watching and I answer a question, I'm answering that question for more than one person. Let me find a question here. Now's a good chance, guys. Type that question in if you haven't already. Oh, let's see. Teresa shared it on Facebook. Where have you guys shared it at? Here's another one on Facebook. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing this. See, Teresa had no idea. That's why I'm saying when I'm answering somebody's question, I'm really answering 100 people's question, because Teresa didn't even know she had a question about her salt until I just said, your salt's got sugar in it. She's like, what? This crazy redneck doctor from Tennessee, he don't know nothing. And she went to the pantry, went to the cabinet, and she got her salt out, and she turned it around, and she looked, and she's like, holy shit. Huh, my salt's got sugar in it. Yeah. Should I toss it or finish it off? It's a small amount. They use it so it doesn't cake, so it doesn't stick together, which is not a huge deal. All you got to do is shake the salt container and it breaks it apart. You can go ahead, if you can afford it, throw it away and buy salt without sugar in it from now on. Redmond's Real Salt is one of the best salts. It's made right here in the United States. Not made. They actually mine it from deep under the ground. Pristine salt that was placed there many, many thousands of years ago by the creator and the forces of nature. They just mine it and put it in a container. It has nothing added, no sugar, nothing else added to it. How many of you guys did just now found out you were today years old when you discovered that your salt has sugar in it? You're like, how did I not know that? That's why I love doing these lives like this, because people, I mean, you think, well, I mean, I'm 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. I should know most everything by now. But when you study this stuff like I do, you pick up little things. And then when I share it with you, you're like, what? That tells me I'm doing a good job. Here Michael says, where can I find reliable carnivore recipes? So there's a great YouTube channel called Chris Cooking Nashville. He has great keto and carnivore recipes. In the show notes of this video on Facebook and Rumble and YouTube, there is a link that's called cookingketowithfaith.com, but it also has many carnivore recipes. Okay, so if you're looking for keto and carnivore recipes, Chris Cooking Nashville, the YouTube channel, and then cookingketowithfaith.com is a recipe blog, and they have tons of keto and carnivore recipes. There's several really good carnivore cookbooks. Courtney Luna, Luna, she just released a new carnivore cookbook, which is perfection. Courtney Luna, Luna. It's available on Amazon. I promise you, it'll be well worth it. Amy, here's a good question about vitamin D. Anybody got questions about vitamin D? First of all, let me tell you, the research, when you really dig into the research on vitamin D, not just American research, but research in Europe and Scandinavia, vitamin D is probably that and iodine. Those are the two most important things you need to make sure you're getting enough of. You need everything, of course, but those people are commonly deficient in iodine and vitamin D3. You can make vitamin D if you expose your skin to sunlight, if the sun is bright enough. So in the dead of winter, when the sun only gets that high, doesn't get up above you, you're not going to be able to make vitamin D with that. And so there are vitamin D rich foods. I've got a YouTube video called Vitamin D Rich Foods. You can eat those several times a week. But most people, if they can't get enough sunlight, they need to take a vitamin D supplement. Dr. Pierre Corey was just on, I think, Tucker Carlson talking about vitamin D and how, like, literally, if you get enough vitamin D and you get enough iodine and you eat fatty meat and eggs with the yolk and seafood, you're literally going to live your best life. Vitamin D is vital for your immune system to function properly. Vital for so many things. Most people think, oh yeah, vitamin D helps make your bones stronger. That's the least of what vitamin D does. It is hugely important. Most people think, oh, iodine's for your thyroid. Yeah, well, okay, whatever. No, every single cell in your body needs iodine every day. It's super important. But most doctors have no clue about this yet. But if I succeed at my goal, which is educating every doctor on planet Earth to stop saying stupid shit like eat a plant-based diet, and you don't need to worry about iodine or vitamin D. That's foolishness. Just eat a plant-based diet and everything will be fine. Eat the rainbow. Eat all things in moderation. Move more, eat less. When I can get every doctor on planet Earth to stop saying that stupid shit and start giving good nutrition advice, and when I have, the curve of type 2 diabetes, how it's just going up like this, my goal is to break the back of that curve. And so it starts going down like that. That's why me and a group of doctors formed the American Diabetes Society, because the other diabetes association gives terrible nutrition advice. All they want to do is push medication, push insulin, and here, make these cupcakes. Here's a recipe on our website. Me and a group of doctors, PhDs and MDs, were like, this is ignorant. This is harmful. Let's just make our own diabetes society. So we formed the American Diabetes Society. There's a link down in the show notes on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Rumble. Click the link and give a buck, give $5, give $10. Hell, give $1,000 to the American Diabetes Society. We're trying to raise enough funds so we can start funding research, so we can have a diabetes journal that actually gives good advice to doctors. Because the other diabetes association, they take so many millions of dollars in donations from big pharma and from big food. They take so much money from big food that they have guest appearances in the recipes. Like, oh, this is a great recipe to use Splenda. Sponsored by Splenda. That's not how you're supposed to do things. You're supposed to tell the truth, whether you make a penny or a dime. I don't care. You're supposed to help people who have a disease. You're not supposed to say, well, we didn't hurt them, but we made $1 million, so it's cool. That feels immoral to me. That feels unethical. What do you think about that? Do you think that's ethical? That's why we founded the American Diabetes Society. So we can give people with diabetes good advice. We can help people with type 2 diabetes reverse their diabetes, get rid of it. We can help people with type 1 diabetes have a normal A1C and use 70% less insulin and have a 99% less chance of having a diabetic complication. That's why we started. So if you got an extra few bucks, please donate it to the ADS. Tree Dude, I pretty much agree with you. Tree Dude said sunlight provides all the vitamin D you need. Pharma vitamin D is cholecalciferol. Vitamin D2, yeah, I don't recommend vitamin D2 supplements. I recommend vitamin D3 supplements only. Vitamin D2 is used as rat poison at high enough doses. That is correct. You don't have to prove it. I've looked into it, Tree Dude. You're actually right. Super high doses of D2 is used as rat poison. Yes, absolutely. I recommend vitamin D3 in the correct amount, which for most adults is 5,000 to 10,000 international units a day. For a 4-year-old kid, 200 to 400 IUs a day. For a 7-year-old kid, 500 to 1,000. For a 12-year-old kid, 1,000 to 5,000 IUs a day. And then you're going to go to the doctor, and after you've been taking it for a month or two, and you're going to say, hey, doctor, check my vitamin D 25 level. Because many doctors don't know which test to order to check your vitamin D. They'll order a vitamin D 125, and that's wrong. You want a vitamin D 25 level checked, and you want it to be between 50 and 100. That's the sweet spot, between 50 and 100. And a lot of docs are like, oh, that's too high. No, it's not. The research, especially the European research on vitamin D and the Scandinavian research on vitamin D, it's very clear. You want your vitamin D 25 level to be between 50 and 100. You guys are asking some great questions today. Let me get a few more. It should be, the ADS link should be in the show notes. If not, if you'll just type in American Diabetes Society in your browser, the website will pop up. American Diabetes Society. I thought I had a link in the show notes. Maybe I don't. All right, let me get another question here. Let's see. This is from Jake. Hello, Dr. Berry. I tried to have a blood lab done, and they suggested CBC, HCVAB, lipid, vitamin D, MN. Is this enough for a first-time blood test? It depends, Jake. That's definitely not a complete full panel like I talk about in the Common Sense Labs book. And let me show you, this is available on Amazon. Common Sense Labs, Blood Labs Demystified. I wrote it with Kim Howerton, my good friend. It's available on Amazon. You can get a paperback or you can get the Kindle version. And it's got the full lab panel that you should ask for once a year. But this is definitely not enough. They didn't check an A1C. They didn't check a fasting insulin. They didn't check an HSCRP. I don't see a complete metabolic panel here. This definitely is not enough labs. Good question. Here's I'm a Butterfly. Psoriasis for 35 years. Started the Lion diet almost 2 years ago. Meat, fat, water, and salt. Don't want to incorporate dairy yet. Yeah, I would hold off on that for now. What about sheep or goat cheeses? They are on average less inflammatory than cow cheese. But for some people, they're still too inflammatory. I would get the psoriasis completely under control, then experiment with goat cheese. See if it causes a flare-up. Experiment with sheep's cheese. See if it causes a flare-up. For some people, it will. For many people, it won't. But the only way to know is to be strict, either beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, or Lion, if you want to get even stricter, Lion diet. Do that for 90 days. Get that psoriasis beat down to its most stable place. And then you can do experiments and see if that causes a flare-up for you or not. Okay, my friends, that's all I've got time for today. It's not too late to share this video on your social media. That helps me help new people who've never heard the good news about a proper human diet before. So please help me. It takes 3 seconds to click the share button and share this somewhere. That helps me help new people. If you've got more questions, I'm going to be live in 45 minutes inside of our private community. 45 minutes from now, 5 p.m. Central. Every Wednesday, I'm live in our private community. There's a link in the show notes. Sign up, and I'll answer your questions then. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time.